Hey, and welcome back to Well. I'm your host, Laura Munkholm, and today's episode is quite a treat. I am beyond honored to have Amy Boone Thompson with us. We'll be discussing the intersection of wellness and the coaches, the instructors, and the evolution of the trainers that we all look to in our industry over the last decade or so. Amy has over 30 years of experience in the fitness industry. She jokes that it's really the only industry she's ever worked in, so don't ask her about others. But she is the CEO of IDEA, owner and CEO of IDEA Health and Fitness Association. IDEA is the world's leading organization of fitness and wellness professionals. She's also an award-winning author, leader, and health coach. She's owned studios, she's worked as a trainer, she's been a media executive in the industry, and she is really just someone who knows where this industry is heading and how we can get there successfully. She's such an inspiration. I've seen her on stages all over the country and can't wait to dive into this conversation with her.
I'm so excited. Thank you for having me.
I am so excited. I can't believe we actually get to have you on this. I feel like you're always gracing stages at conferences and you're all over the place. Are you actually home right now?
I'm home. Yes, I am traveling to Europe this month, but I'm home right
Oh
now.
my gosh. Yeah, I am very honored that you took some time to
Cool.
spend with us. Amy and I both actually live in San Diego and both have volleyball player daughters and both played volleyball, so we have a lot in common and I'm excited to dive in with you today. So, for those of our listeners that don't know, can you give us a bit of an elevator pitch for IDEA? What is IDEA? Why does it exist? And, who is it helping?
I would love to. So, IDEA Health and Fitness Association has actually been around 43 years.
Whoa.
And it was when I was a young trainer and I had just moved to California, I was first introduced to the association, mainly for the in-person events. So IDEA runs events, but we also have publications. Today, we still produce IDEA Fitness Journal. So we're putting out a publication 4 times a year. We provide continuing education for fitness professionals, 900 courses, 15,000 articles on our platform at this point. And we are also, in addition to that, providing a lot of other business resources. So while we don't certify professionals, we're invested in keeping people in the business and helping them to have wild, successful careers, no matter where they train, even if they're not certified or degreed, like all of it. We want every professional to be part of our community so we can up-level them and truly inspire them to inspire more people to movement and fitness.
Oh, I love it. And are you seeing an increase in the number of trainers, instructors? How's the general landscape looking right now for that career?
Yeah. So during the pandemic, no secret, we all lost professionals. A lot of professionals had to go on and take full-time jobs. They were just trying to survive. And so we did see the entire industry saw shrinkage, not just the US and not just IDEA and not just, but the entire segment. But what we're really seeing, which is exciting, is at our events and through our membership, we are building the emerging, incoming, younger professional and first-time conference attendees. And so that tells us that the future, we're optimistic about attracting more professionals. But I will say they're not coming to us through the traditional pathways we once held. And that's kind of in thanks to your audience of entrepreneurs, franchisees, professionals are finding you and getting introduced to the industry through a lot of times through your boutique studios and clubs and then looking for other opportunities to grow.
Awesome. Well, that's kind of fun. I definitely think there is something to be said for, I think what's being talked about a lot is studios and wellness clubs and generally fitness environments becoming a place where people want to hang out and it becomes a very attractive place to want to spend time. And yeah, I imagine it looks like a cool place to work. So that's good.
And we've always had like the front row students in traditional clubs, where someone will take a class and they're in the back of the room and then they start finding their way to the front. They get more consistent. They can start to see themselves on the stage. Then they start inquiring, like, how do I get certified to be a professional? So, now that can happen in a lot of different ways. People could enter your club or studio. People could experience fitness online. Now we have the emergence of the fitfluencers or influencers that people see and say, I want that lifestyle. well. So people, again, are coming to us through different pathways, but they're still finding and falling in love with fitness as a career.
Gosh, well, I definitely want to talk about the Fitfluencer. That's one of the topics I have because it's an interesting emergence, and I think good or bad, it's definitely drawing a lot of attention to our industry. Well, so you are the CEO of IDEA. I'd love to hear what led you to that and taking a leap into really owning this and charging forward with the organization.
Yeah. Well, it's a great story. As I said, well, I moved to California in 1997 from just finishing college. That's when I was introduced to IDEA. And I've been a member for all of those years. No matter what job I had, which I've had them all in the industry, I've run leagues, I've been in the spa, I've been a personal trainer, a manager, I've been a GM, I've been an owner. We talked about my studio.
I
I've done it
know.
all.
So that's so funny. When I was going through Amy's background just to kind of prep for this,
Yeah.
I was floored because she actually owned a yoga studio that I used to go to back in the day when I was in my corporate career, and I would sneak away at lunch and go to Four Seasons Yoga. Just such a small world. I love it.
That was 18 years ago. Can you believe
Oh
that?
God.
I was just telling you, like, I was very pregnant with my oldest daughter when the one that plays volleyball, when I owned that studio.
My gosh.
Yeah. So
Wow.
through all of those experiences, IDEA Health and Fitness was my platform. It was my resource. It's where I got my continuing education through the journal, through the events. But more importantly, it was really where I came together with my fitness family. And I found like-minded professionals that I would lean on when I needed advice or suggestions. I would see these individuals every single year. Later in my career, they became the network that helped me to get different positions and opportunities. And so I was minding my own business, living in Colorado, and I was business development for Les Mills. I got to sell licenses to the whole West Coast, and that was really exciting. I was getting global exposure. I was loving my job. And they say that when you're vibrating at that high level, that's usually when the best things happen. So I got contacted by a headhunter who said, "You are a unicorn that we've been looking for. With all of your experiences, you're the perfect person to lead this organization."
Oh,
that
goosebumps.
was in 2000. That was in 2019. And so throughout the process of interviewing, the founders had sold the company to private equity, and the equity group was based in Colorado where I was living. So I'm interviewing for a job in California. I'm interviewing in Colorado for a job that would require me to come back to California, which I was so ecstatic to do. And so anyway, that brought me back to lead the organization. And then the pandemic happened. And fun fact, I was hired to bring people back to the office and to encourage culture and to have everyone together in one space.
So when did you actually start? What was your date you started?
I started in July of 2019.
Oh my God.
Yes. And they were like, "These California people like to work from home. We're not so sure about that. Can you bring them back in the office? We have this gorgeous office that we wanted everyone to, come together." Anyway, so fast forward, the pandemic really shifted everything, as we all know. We flipped our events virtual. We flipped our magazine digital. We had a whole bunch of things that we needed to do to support our fitness professionals and the industry at large. We were working with all the associations and the advocacy groups here in California and nationally and globally. And then we got acquired again. So we switched ownership groups during the pandemic. Through that process, I realized that not only did I need to be the face of the company because I was a fitness professional who truly understood what our studio owners and our fit pros were going through, but the rest of our portfolio were all more consumer facing brands like Yoga Journal, Clean Eating, Oxygen Magazine, Better Nutrition. So they just had a different focus, whereas we were here to support the professional and owner first. And I realized that I had the IP, I was the face of the company. And so when we were going through all that change, I really just raised my hand to say, "Hey, I want to own this company. I want to carve it out of the equity group and become the owner and take it back to a small family-owned business where it can thrive." And they said yes. And then
oh my gosh,
8 weeks later, I owned it.
Oh my, 8 weeks? That's wild.
Yeah.
Crazy fast. Well, I imagine that that time and there was so much uncertainty. A private equity group was probably like, okay, who's this crazy lady that wants to take this off our plate?
Yeah. And they were like, yeah, we don't know that much about it anyway. Let's do that.
Yeah. Yeah, this sounds like a great idea. Oh my gosh. Well, I am so happy that you did, and it's been amazing to see what you're doing. I think, like you said, we've got so many different types of people looking at fitness as a career potential now. And there's a lot of work to be done to prove that it can be successful, that it can actually be a career and not just a side hustle. So I'd like to kind of step back and look at, how trainers, how coaches, how instructors are different today than say, 10 years ago or even pre-pandemic. What pre-longevity, I feel like there's so many big waves that have come through in the last 5 years, and it does take a different person. So what are the big differences you see?
Yeah. Well, first, we know this was already happening prior to the pandemic, but most professionals consider themselves hybrid now. And it
Mm,
really started with the emergence of small groups versus large group and one on one. When small group, I was running and operating programs and clubs at that time. And when we saw that happen, professionals were like, listen, if I want to make a career of this, to your point, and fill in a lot more hours during the day, this is a vehicle to do that. So whether they were brick and mortar or they were training on their own, that created an opportunity for people to be hybrid in the sense that they were no longer just one-on-one or group.
hmm.
Then people started taking on multiple disciplines. So then you have fit pros who can teach cycle and Pilates, and then they can also do one-on-one coaching. So hybrid in both senses. That was already
Okay.
happening prior to the pandemic, but it just gives that professional so many more options to address the needs of clients and open their books to more and more business. So I'd say that was really the first shift that we've seen in the last 5 to 10 years. The second, which was really fueled by the pandemic, is this holistic approach to helping your clients. Whereas we used to, and I'm 53. Wait, how old? 53 this year. So I'm going to date myself. And I've only ever been in the fitness industry. So when I say back in the day, just that's a frame of reference.
Okay,
Early,
there you go.
like mid 90s,
90s, yeah.
when I
Okay.
started training. And back then, there were so many rules about staying in your lane. Like, you're not allowed to talk to clients about their mental health. You are not allowed to talk to them about nutrition. You don't have that
Wow.
piece of paper that says you're a nutritionist. And we really stayed in our lane because we were kind of scared from legal ramifications or hurting someone. And I think what we've seen, the biggest shift is now professionals are getting more and more training in all of these areas. Maybe not so much that they are an expert or could advise their client, but we're aware and we build a
Right.
network of people we can refer to when we do have someone who has a need that
Mm,
is around the area of mental health, or we can address their basic nutritional needs along with their health program. So that's what I mean by holistic, is we're thinking about the whole human being now, and we're not so compartmentalized in our approach to
right.
coaching.
Okay. Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, I wasn't going to go here yet, but it actually feels natural. I think I don't know, maybe this is my gender bias, but I feel like more and more women in this industry too, and more women outside of maybe the roles that like when we look at the history of boutique fitness, women traditionally were leading group classes or were, focused a little bit more around nutrition. And I think we see women across everything now, which maybe speaks to that holistic perspective. But is that just my general viewpoint, or is that true? Do we see more women in fitness across the board?
We do see more women across the board. In fact, our audience is pretty much, it used to be a group, again, would strew to the women, more female, and personal training, more male. But we are seeing that pretty even
Yeah,
across. And I think, when you get into different approaches and different styles, I think you're right. Like a female trainer or coach or instructor might bring a different perspective or approach to their style of coaching.
right. Yeah. And I think what's really encouraging to me is that a lot of these women, this is where they get their entrepreneurial roots. They start to see like, okay, cool. I really love making an impact. And I see that other people have been successful building businesses doing this, opening studios, opening gyms, personal training, whatever it might be. From our perspective at Walla, vast majority of our clients are female owners now, which is so exciting to see. But are you seeing the same thing, like women emerging more as entrepreneurs and starting businesses, not just working, in a gym as a trainer?
Well, that would be the third thing that I highlight as a major shift. And this is to me the biggest shift. If you had asked, like, let's just say we looked at 10,000 trainers and asked them before the pandemic, are you an employee or are you self-employed? Probably 70% would have said, I'm an employee. But I might train clients in my garage, or I might train clients here, or I might do that. But today it's completely shifted, where
Interesting.
60 to 70% of our members are now telling us, I am a solopreneur, I'm self-employed, but I might have a job at this particular studio, or I might be on the payroll at this particular organization. So the mindset completely shifted. And largely that was because a lot of professionals were forced to go it alone, and they were forced to carry the payroll for their clubs. And they did it from their living rooms. And that led to building the confidence and having the resources to then say, I'm a content creator. Like, I can
Yeah.
make money off my own programs. And so there's all kinds of platforms whereby, including Walla, whereby professionals can put their content out into the world. And I
Hmm.
think that was just the biggest shift. While it did exist before the pandemic, it was one of those dramatic shifts where once someone was forced to try it, then they realized they had all the tools they needed.
That's so awesome. Yeah, it's exciting to see. It's interesting because as typically a vendor at a lot of conferences where potentially it's business owners sometimes it's trainers, sometimes it's teachers, coaches, we are seeing the data show that it's more and more business owners. And what we're learning is that the trainers, the teachers, are defining themselves that way when they're filling out paperwork, when they're saying, here's the content I'm excited about learning. It's not just how to be a better teacher, it's how to be a better business owner, which is so exciting. I love seeing
It
that.
is. It is. And specifically for women, to your point about, like, we're seeing more and more of our female coaches come up with their own concepts, their own licensed
Mm,
programs, their own. In fact, on our podcast, I've been interviewing presenters that are coming to Idea World, and I think 3 of my first 5 guests were doing just that. Like, this was
wow.
a great presenter who had a concept in mind. They developed their own licensed material that they now go out and provide to club and studio operators that they can use in-house. So I'm all for it. I think it's so exciting to see that, especially in this category, where we are seeing a lot more female owners and executives. Not so much at the big box yet, but we're
Yep.
going to get
Yep.
there. We're going to get there.
Yeah, chipping away.
Moving away.
Um, okay, so we do have a lot of studio owners, gym owners that listen to the pod, and I think they're always hungry to retain these amazing teachers and to help them be successful and to grow. So, any advice for them right now as they're trying to develop these folks and keep them around?
Yes. So this is not just coming from my own experiences, but we do regularly survey our audience. And by the way, so IDEA has members all over the world. We have over
Mm,
303,000 Fit Pros all over the world, but we're most heavily concentrated in the US, of course, because that's where we're based. So we do survey them regularly and ask just that. What makes your job satisfaction come from? What could your employer be offering that would make you want to stay? So overwhelmingly, it's culture first. They want to be part of a culture that respects them, that invests in them. And investment can mean monetary, it can mean benefits, it can mean continuing education, sending that person to events, helping them to grow as a professional. That's what they're looking for. They want a culture of an owner that invests in them. And also that your instructors are your front line. Many
mhm.
owners also teach, especially in the club and studio. So we have a lot of owner operators who are still coaching. But for the most part, if you're an owner that maybe has 1 or 2 classes a week, your instructors are the representation of your brand. And if they are happy and loved and feeling the care, they will then share that same love,
Right.
care with your members. But if they're feeling anxious, or if they're feeling undervalued, or if they're feeling undercompensated, or if they're feeling they're a commodity, they're not going to give that same love and care to your membership. It'll be very transactional. They'll come in, they'll teach, they'll get their paycheck, and they'll leave. So culture means a lot of different things, but it is the number one thing that our professionals value.
Yeah, I mean, it speaks volumes. And I think I hear so often, especially in the studio world, we're building a community, we're trying to build community. And the newer businesses are like, God, how have these businesses done it? How do they have people that come to their happy hours and get together and, that's their friend groups? And it starts with the teachers. It starts with the instructors, the coaches that really, really embody what the brand is trying to put out into the world. But more than anything, they care. And when they care, they have conversations, they ask questions, they get to know people. And you can't fake that, right? Like paying somebody, 15, $20 an hour and just assuming that they're going to stick around and talk to your people when there's nothing driving the culture, there's no incentive to, and they don't feel cared about, is not going to happen. So that's really valuable data to have. And it's not just us standing on a soapbox saying it.
Yeah, but again, they also want to grow and they want to be at the top of their game and they want to get better. So when we dug deeper around, like, what does that mean to you? Of course,
Yeah.
compensation is important. If you are able to offer a pathway to benefits, I wholeheartedly recommend it. If you can't, then partner with someone like IDEA. We provide health benefits. We provide liability insurance. Like, we can be a bridge for you to support that fitness professional. And that's truly our goal, is to keep these professionals thriving and successful. And first of all, if you're worried about your livelihood, or if you're worried that if you get sick, it could bankrupt you, like how will your life, the quality of life be? It won't be
Right.
great. So when we dug deeper, it was compensation, it was benefits that are available to me or a pathway to get there, and then continuing education. So whether it's something they can do online, whether it's in-house service that you're providing or education, or whether you are reimbursing to send your professionals to events like Idea World or our ACSM Health and Fitness Summit, those are ways that you can invest in those professionals.
Yeah. And actually, on that note, you and I had spoken a month or two ago about how you were trying to make Idea World more accessible. And part of that was moving locations, part of that was giving digital content. Yeah, talk to us about that. How are you making this easier for businesses to invest in their teachers and send them?
Well, first, we moved the event to Sacramento this year, and that was truly a cost-saving measure, both for our exhibitors and sponsors, but also to keep the cost low for attendees. So in Sacramento, it's easy to fly in and out of. You don't need a car. Everything's super easy. The hotels are right across the street. We got really, really low rates on the hotels.
Oh, awesome.
And then to keep our ticket price down, we did a few things. We shifted from a 4-day event to a 3-day event. We offer a discount. So you can get a discount code for your professionals that can layer on top of our early bird rates that are going on right now. And then a lot of the best companies, best meaning keeping their employees, are also reimbursing that professional. So great, you want to go to this conference. We have a reimbursement program that will give you up to X dollars a year to use at your discretion. Show us the receipt that you attended. And then that way the pro is getting their continuing education credits paid for by their employer, as long as they're following your guidelines and maintaining their satisfactory work at the facility or the club. Of course, you can have guidelines around that, but have a reimbursement program just to give them another piece of that back if they're accomplishing specific milestones at your facility or club.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I hear all the time teachers saying, or I'm sorry, studios saying that they want their teachers to, up their game, and they see the data. Like, we provide really clear teacher dashboards and data on how teacher performance is doing from a profitability perspective, from an attendance, utilization, all of these kind of metrics they look at. And it's like, okay, if you want to move the needle on those metrics, you have to help them. Like, it's not just, post on Instagram and you're going to get more people and make us more money. It's become a better teacher and learn what's happening, because the world is changing a lot. To your point about, the holistic viewpoint, I imagine content at Idea looks very different today than it did, 10 years ago. So yeah, actually, let's dive into that. How is content changing through Idea? Are you adding new kind of veins of certifications or content or education?
Yeah, so we used to do tickets that were specifically for your role in the industry, but again, due to most professionals considering themselves hybrid, we don't do owner focused content or group X focused content. We do have a matrix whereby if that is your role, you can find those classes, but the ticket, your 3-day pass includes the whole program. So you
Mm,
can pick and choose which subject matter is most interesting to you, along with the presenters that really speak to you or have walked the path that you're hoping to walk. And so
cool.
examples of that, you can float between a business session and better communication and queuing session. And then you can go and then work on science and technique behind that. We offer lectures, workshops, workouts. The workouts don't give you CCs, but
Right.
workshops and lectures, of course, do. And we are bringing back our opening ceremonies this year. We
Mm,
have the Golden Gala, which is where we'll give out the awards, the industry's most coveted awards, if I might add.
yay.
And we are really trying to make world more experiential, just like you're doing in your businesses. We know that professionals want to come and have, first of all their selfie moments and
Hmm.
all of their photo worthy moments, but we
Of
know
course.
they are taking time away from earning money and they're spending their hard-earned money to be there and have this experience. And we want them to walk away with knowledge and relationships, but most of all, inspiration. So
Yeah.
they can go back to your business, to their class, and they can better engage and connect with the membership and offer them a more broad service.
Love it. Yeah, I mean, if we're real, this can be a grind. I mean, if you are training 7 people a day, if you're teaching 8 classes a day, it is a grind. And people show every single person walking through the door of that business expects to have an amazing experience with a fired up, passionate, instructor, coach, trainer, whatever in front of them. So, the trainers, the teachers need that inspiration more than anybody.
Yes, they do. Yes, we fill their
Man.
bucket so they can go back and fill
Yes.
their clients' buckets.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so just to take a turn, I'm really curious your take on this because we keep hearing and at every conference I go to, every time I'm out and about with other professionals in the industry, we're hearing more and more about how the worlds of medicine and fitness are starting to come together. And I would imagine that's sort of intimidating for teachers, for trainers, because all of us, I mean, so many people have wearables now, think they are experts on their own medical state of the state, and then they're walking into class and expecting the teacher probably to know a lot more than many do. So talk to us about what you're seeing, how you're communicating with teachers today about that intersection of the medical world and the wellness or fitness world, and what we can prepare for.
Sure. Well, I'm incredibly passionate about this. For your audience that doesn't know, I serve on World Active. I'm the chair of World Active, and World Active is the coming together of associations globally for the first time in history.
Mm,
And this initiative started during the pandemic, but what we're doing is we're empowering professionals, organizations, associations around a lot of different areas, one of which being our role, the standards of our role globally. And one of these initiatives is truly to be this piece of the healthcare continuum that we view ourselves, but maybe not respected on every
yeah.
continent as such. So for IDEA, what this means is of course, we don't want people practicing out of their scope, but
Hmm.
we need to educate and empower them, like I was saying earlier, so that they have a broad awareness, but then they know who to refer to when that person's in front of them that has a need that they can't personally address or coach around, et cetera. So some real life examples of that at World this year, we just signed with MIDI, who is a women's health
Oh,
provider, who's a big global international brand. And these are concierge doctors who are working with women around all of their health needs at every age and every stage. So MIDI is coming to Idea World as an event partner.
cool.
And they're going to be helping to bring their doctors. Their chief medical officer is speaking at the opening ceremonies, and she'll have a breakout session as well, talking about women's health and our role as fitness professionals in their evolution or their healthcare continuum. So we're empowering fitness professionals with education, with knowledge, and then with the resources whereby they can refer. Same thing with mental health. We've worked with the John H. Brick Foundation for many years. We're working with them to create content and maybe specialty certificates where a fitness professional can gain more knowledge and expertise to help them address and refer and support that person in their entire holistic wellness journey.
Wow, that's amazing. We've definitely got to talk a little bit more about World Active. I am so excited to hear where that's going to be going. Just out of curiosity, is that being embraced by all corners of the earth? I mean, are there certain countries that are standout, like doing it really well, where you feel like there's a nice kind of relationship between the medical world and the fitness world? Yeah, who's doing it well?
Great question. I don't have a real life example of who's doing well in terms of the handoff. Well, that's not true, as I think. I don't want to call out any country and then get that wrong and they say, oh, that's a terrible example. Because I think everyone feels they could be doing it better.
Better, right.
That's where, but what we're doing as World Active is sharing best practices so that when we find a country that's collaborating really well. Well, okay, so I'll spotlight the UK only for the fact that right now the government has really accepted and embraced their credentialing system. So there is no, for fitness professionals.
Right.
And so there is no nuance, there is no gray area, there is no I'm certified, I'm not, certifications don't matter, they do, degrees this. No, there's a very clear path to entering our profession and a clear standard of excellence that's expected for any instructor and for any coach. And so I think that's something the US could emulate, but a lot of other countries as well, is to say, of course, there's pros and cons to every system, but that's a country who people adhere to the system. Australia is another great example of a country that has adopted clear credentialing guidelines and people follow them. Yeah. But as far as that helps to establish trust with the medical. So I didn't answer your question. The reason that's important is because that will establish the trust with the medical system so that we can truly build this cyclical continuum for every individual who wants to enjoy fitness and wellness as part of their.
Yeah. That makes total sense. I think it must be hard as the medical world looks at fitness, because there are a million ways people approach fitness and who knows who's certified in what. So that makes absolute sense. I am curious how you guys are handling just the emergence of so much data and wearables. I hinted at it before, but are you encouraging trainers to push people to use wearables and track on their own? Is that just kind of here's what's out there? Or are you trying to standardize, like, here are the data points we want everybody looking at?
We are not standardizing around the data points, although we do work with all the certifying agencies. So I know there are other agencies that are looking at those data points. So we will, when that data or a white paper is released, of course, IDEA would share that with our members. But what we are doing is, again, where we fit into the professionals' knowledge base is really to provide them with an understanding. So we would produce articles and we would interview all of the experts and we would talk about best practices. We'll produce that content. We'll produce courses at our events so that we can educate the fitness professional around those data points, around all the technologies that exist, around how that data can support the client in their health continuum and journey. So we're more around bringing all that data, providing the trainer or the instructor with the education and knowledge, not necessarily doing the white paper, but we would share the white paper.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, it's funny hearing different viewpoints. I mean, I've been at conferences where there are medical professionals that are like, I don't want stop bringing me all of it. It's a pain in the ass. It's confusing. It doesn't actually help us solve anything. If you have very reliable, you've worn it for the same amount of time every single day for 60 days, and you can give me something perfectly measured, okay, maybe I'll look at it, but the vast majority of Americans are not doing it that way. So it's interesting to see, as we've gotten more information about ourselves, how we're trying to use that with the professionals in our lives. And I like the viewpoint of like, listen, we'll put the content out there from the respected professionals and let you take that and learn from it.
Right. But then if you use the example of MIDI, for example, so yes, now we have a lot of technology that can track a female's cycle, monthly cycle, as well as when when they're perimenopausal. So then partners like MIDI will help to interpret that data for professionals. We would be
Perfect.
writing, we will be writing articles with MIDI. They will be regularly producing columns for Idea Fitness Journal. So then we can inform professionals around how to use that data to support these female clients, or the male clients training female clients. So that's an example of how we would intervene or be involved.
Yeah, great. I'm so excited about that partnership for
I
you.
know, me too.
Congrats.
Me too. Not
Oh,
only am I a client,
I know. Yes. Now you get to share that with the world. Well, I will have to connect offline about that because I
yeah.
definitely want to chat with them. Okay. So kind of wrapping this up, I think I always like to hear people in a position where you're seeing so many different trends and, ideas pop up. Is there anything that's kind of driving you crazy about the wellness industry right now, or you feel that it's making it harder on either the trainers or the consumers in the way that kind of wellness fitness is being presented today?
Yeah. Well, we didn't talk about influencers, so I will
Oh
address that.
gosh,
And
thank
that
you.
is because that is one of my, of course, my challenges with our industry right now is that we have such incredible platforms now that can speak to so
Hmm.
many people. And so it's important that we as club studio owners, operators are employing people who are giving great advice and are not just hearing something, regurgitating it and spitting it back out, but they've done their research, they've done their science before they're informing clients online or in your clubs, that they really have an understanding of the concept or the science or the research as best they can. And I think ultimately that means that that person is a professional and not
Right.
a hobbyist. And so it's just a buyer beware kind of environment right now. And it's truly is the Wild West when it comes to the qualifications that you might be looking for or that we look for from these online quote unquote influencers.
Influencers. Yeah.
So when we find, again, on my podcast, I interviewed several people recently who've built amazing platforms with a really broad reach, but these are professionals who have degrees,
Yeah.
qualifications, certifications. They're putting out really, really top quality content. And if they don't understand something, they interview a guest, they bring the research and science to their platform to educate consumers. So my ask of all of you, I don't believe every professional who works in your facility needs to be certified or have a degree. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that you should be creating a pathway whereby that professional can get that knowledge or
Yeah.
gain a certification, or that they can broaden their expertise. So if they're going to be wearing the title of fitness professional, they truly need to be a professional.
Yeah.
It's like if someone was running around pretending to be a firefighter, but they're not a firefighter. And when you have a fire, you want a firefighter who knows what they're
Yeah.
doing. Like we have a real profession with real qualifications, certifications, degrees. And so if you don't require those when you are hiring, please, please, please create a pathway for that professional to gain that expertise and knowledge.
Yeah, I love that. It's the challenge our industry has for sure right now. That and fitness influencers and an overwhelm of information. But I
Yeah,
think particularly with influencers, it's almost you have to be an entertainer, and the entertainer side of it and has become almost more important for them than the qualifications behind that. And unfortunately, most of us are going to sit and stare at a screen if it's entertaining and compelling
I
and
know.
watch that for longer than, maybe a college professor talking about macros. And it's hard to keep people's attention. But at the end of the day, we're working with people during, vulnerable moments in their health and wellness. And when we're doing that by just regurgitating information and not truly understanding what's happening, we're putting people at a risk. So,
And influencers are speaking to the masses. And so if
right.
you have an individual need, you can't necessarily rely on that person's information to address your individual need. But one of the things, a lot of the things we teach are helping these legitimate qualified professionals to have a bigger presence and be more entertaining. And so
Yeah.
hopefully you'll see more and more that can take the stage, because they don't just look good, they are very knowledgeable as well.
Well, if you have any, we can always call some out in the show notes if you've got
Yes.
any that you recommend people follow for like, this is a quality person that, fitness
Yeah.
professional that's fun, that's entertaining, that's engaging, and that also knows their shit.
Yes. Done. I
Awesome.
will.
All right. Well, how can people find you, more about IDEA? What's the best pathway for people to
Yeah.
get involved and maybe even attend an IDEA World?
Okay, thank you for asking. So for me, I'm Amy Boone Thompson. I really love LinkedIn. That's where I'm at most of the time. That's my yellow pages and my white pages. Again, if you know what that means, then you know. Instagram and Facebook, Amy Boone Thompson. IDEA is IDEA Fit, IDEAFIT. We are on all those same platforms, and we're producing a lot of content. So just follow, come on in, start taking some courses if you're interested, or refer your trainers and professionals. And then IDEA World is coming July 17th through the 19th, 2025. In Sacramento. And right now we are still selling early bird registration. So you can get in, you get a ticket, and we can give you a discount code for your team that they can layer on top of that early bird. So just contact me, or you'll see clear instructions on our website as well. Follow, get our newsletters, just get connected with our community, because we truly are here to support all of you as business owners and all of your professionals.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Everyone, join us soon again on Well, Well, Well. Amy, it's been a pleasure to have you, and we can't wait to see you again soon.
Thank you.